Hey, I'm Mark.
And I'm Kendrick.
And this is Movies in Black and White.
We're late. We're behind.
A little bit.
Yeah. That's my bad. That's my bad. Well, not entirely my bad. My little boy got sick. Kind of the cold season's getting cold and then it's getting hot. So I had to deal with a sick baby, which is not fun. 3 months old with coughing and congestion.
A legitimate excuse.
It is rough. It is really rough. But the saving grace was my dad and his wife were kind enough to watch our baby for us. So we got to go see this movie finally. Which it was Birds of Prey.
Yes.
And as we were going to talk about, I was a little disappointed. Actually, I was a lot disappointed. I'm not going to lie. It was pretty rough.
The Birds of Prey needed a lot of prayer. That's what.
You need Jesus.
You do. It does need Jesus.
So, starting off, it's a rated R DCEU movie, and it takes place in the same universe as Justice League, Suicide Squad. It's directly related to Suicide Squad, which I was surprised that it correlated so much. I mean, it even had snippets from that movie when they seemed like they were really trying to distance themselves from it. Now, it is rated R, and like I told you earlier today, I feel it was rated R for the sake of being rated R.
I think so too. I really don't see why they didn't have a PG-13 rating. I mean, they just wanted to have some gratuitous, F-bombs or some headshots and all that kind of stuff. So it was a little bit crazy on that reasoning. This was a boring movie.
Yeah. For being based around... Okay, first of all, it should not have been called Birds of Prey in the Fabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. It should have been called Harley Quinn featuring the Birds of Prey.
Yes.
Or introducing the Birds of Prey. Like we talked about earlier. That would have been smarter title. And even Warner Brothers thought that was a smarter idea because they ended up changing it on Cinemark and AMC's website to Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey, because it is not doing well in the box office. It is not selling tickets. After watching it, I realize why. It is a very dull movie.
Dying on the vine. I mean, you had a little bit of buzz at first, and everybody was like, "Oh yeah, we wanted to go see it," and just hopefully DC is getting things right.
Yeah,
they
are. They're going in the right direction.
Yeah, well, I mean, Aquaman, Wonder Woman,
Shazam.
Shazam were good movies.
Wonder Woman 84 looks good.
Exactly.
The Batman looks amazing.
Yes, it does.
Shout out to Pattinson in that Batman suit.
In that. Awesome. But, man, they just can't seem to get these ensemble movies together. I mean, it's something that I look at and I get frustrated. Mm-hmm. Because I'm like, okay, there's so much potential with characters. There's so much potential with storyline. There's such a wealth of material that they could draw from for these movies, and they just go, we're going to do this, and we're going to jumble it up, and we're going to shoehorn this in, and we're going to try to make this happen.
Very shoehorned. That is a goddamn good analogy, because it was very shoehorned. The only ones that felt like they were pulled from the comics, and even a little bit, were Harley Quinn, Huntress, and
Black Canary.
Diana Lance, Black Canary. That was it. Cassandra Cain was totally off base from what she normally is. She was a Robin at one point.
I have a very big bone to pick with that.
Yeah,
very big bone.
I understand. Well, you're not the only one.
Her mother in the comic books is Lady Shiva. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with the comic books, Lady Shiva is the baddest ass assassin fighter in DC Universe. She trained Batman. Think about that for just a second. Just chew on that nugget. She trained Batman. Her father is David Kane, another badass assassin in the DC Universe. They reduced this girl to a orphan pickpocket.
Yep, it was rough. It wasn't the only tragedy, too. I mean, they shoehorned Renee Montoya into being a part of the Birds of Prey, which they shouldn't have happened. She is a detective. She is a cop. She should not be part of that team. She could help them. She could be their inside loop into the department. But that's it. They made Zaz kind of a bitch. Zaz was a weird, offbeat, just kind of flamboyant, weird guy. Really weird, not typical Zaz. Which usually I'm okay with them changing the characters as long as you keep the core of that character. What makes that character so great?
Well, here's the thing about Victor Zaz. That guy gets off on the crazy violence that he does.
Yes.
Okay? Which they
hinted at.
They hinted at, but they made it like he was just, kind of dandy kind of guy.
Happy go lucky.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like, you know what? He's crazy.
No,
he's kind of like that, but you had to exacerbate the killer part of it a bit more than you did.
Well, I mean, he took those people's face off, and he even says his line,
that's crazy.
I'll free you from this cage, which it was like
little birds.
Okay, that's Victor's ass. Like the reason he kills people is because he wants to free them from their body, like they're stuck in that, and he's freeing them from their mortal shell. And then he scars himself with a Roman numeral of how many people he's killed. That's why he's got those lines all over his body.
Exactly.
They made those lines very faded. We're not shown really too much at all, except when he's like, I got one spot for you right here, Harley.
Right.
He wasn't the main character. The one that really royally pissed me off was Roman Sionis, played by Ewan McGregor, Black Mask. And it wasn't the character of Roman Sionis that pissed me off. I liked what Ewan McGregor did with the character. I enjoyed him very much. He was fun to watch. They could have done more with him in the aspect of making him a killer bad guy. I mean, he wasn't in it as much as I would have liked.
Right.
But the part that pissed me off to no end, and you told me about this before I even walked in the theater, and I was like, it can't be that bad. And then I watched it, I was like, fuck this, fuck you, I'm out, I'm done.
Right.
They blew the motherfucker up. They blew him up. He wore his mask for all of 5 minutes, if even. The mask was cool. The mask was really cool.
Wonderful. They did a great job. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but man, they did a great job casting this movie. The people they selected to play these characters were great in the movie with the material they had to work with. But it was so sparse. The material was just, it
was like they were stretching it out, and like, I think originally, I don't think Harley Quinn, maybe Harley Quinn wasn't always supposed to play such a huge role, or maybe she was.
I don't know.
But you don't make her a side note in the movie. You make her the main
focus.
Draw. Like we talked about, they should have just made it They should have just made a Gotham Sirens movie. What they should have done was they should have took Harley Quinn and made a Gotham Sirens movie, and then had Harley Quinn tie in each of these individual teams that they wanted to go introduce. You don't just start off with Birds of Prey, who nobody knows who these characters are. I mean, some people know who Black Canary is. She's fairly recognizable, especially with the Arrow show being so popular.
Yes.
And very few people know who Huntress is.
Yeah.
I mean, she's not that
not
well
that
known of a character.
Exactly.
I mean, I know her because I obviously pay attention to the comics, and I watched all the cartoons and all that stuff. But maybe 7 out of 10 people probably wouldn't know who Huntress is or Ray Montoya.
Right.
If you were going to make a Birds of Prey movie, you need to bring the A-list team for Birds of Prey. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Barbara Gordon part of Birds of Prey?
Gordon was part
Batgirl was. Yes. You know, if you would have brought in Batgirl and Black Canary and Huntress and a few other characters to expand that, and then it could have been a great female-led movie.
Exactly.
And it felt like it was an all-female empowerment just for the sake of being female empowerment.
It did give that vibe.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to go in and see a superhero movie. I think Margot Robbie embodies Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
I think she's really fantastic in it. I think that they tried too much to just go, okay, this is a liberation movie, this is a power play by these women, and that's good, but it's also doesn't mean that every man in the movie is terrible.
No.
Because every man in this movie is absolutely horrible.
Yeah, they're assholes. I mean, even the guy that she was living with, Doc, right? That was his name, Doc. He sold her out for more money to go open a different restaurant. It's like, no,
this little
why?
Innocent little Chinese guy. So it's like, okay.
I'm surprised she didn't kill him. Like, I'm surprised. I was legit surprised she didn't kill him. That would not have been out of Harley Quinn's character to just kill them. But
that's right.
They dulled down her psychotic part quite a bit. It seemed. I mean, she was still eccentric and a little crazy, but Harley Quinn is psycho. Like, she is crazy. The reason her and the Joker work so well is because they're crazy, attract each other.
She was more like Valley Girl, loopy, goofy, crazy in this movie.
Yeah.
Than she was psychotic.
The only part that was really psycho for her, and I think it was just more of how she mentally works, was when Roman was hitting her, like smacking the shit out of her when he had her tied up. She had that fantasy of working in his club and dancing and singing and being part of his family.
The Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend montage.
Yeah. And then, that was her just kind of like thinking, oh, maybe, he's my new Mr. J or whatever, and then he smacked her again. She pulled herself out of it. She wasn't crazy enough to be Harley Quinn. Now, Margot Robbie does an amazing job as Harley Quinn. She does good with the source, with what they give her. The movie jumped around quite a bit. It was very all over the place, and it worked, but it didn't work. It's kind of hard. I mean, you got the gist of the story. You knew what was going on. But there had to have been a better way to do that, to where you weren't jumping on. She's like, hold on. Let me explain. And then you had to jump away from what you were enjoying. Yes. Like, one of the best scenes was the police raid scene where Harley goes in and tries to get Cassandra Cain out of jail she swallowed a diamond that Roman Sinus wanted, and that's what started the whole shebang here. She goes and raids the police precinct, and then she stops halfway through her raid and says, "Oh, let me explain where we're here." I'm like, why? Right. Why are we doing this? Like, you don't need... Give me some... You can explain later. Let's just get to the good stuff right now.
Exactly.
You need to keep me entertained here.
The police raid was one of the better scenes in it, but it was... There was one glaring thing that stood out to me. The GCPD has to be a bunch of damn chumps.
Oh, yeah, that was bad.
I mean, she's going in with all non-lethal equipment, and they're getting their asses kicked.
She was messing up their day. She was really messing up.
Would you not pull out a gun and shoot them? I mean, I understand sometimes in the comic books you see this ineptitude in law enforcement. Mm-hmm. But man, it was just so overplayed. But, I mean, yeah, the whole way it was shot, the way it was choreographed, everything like that was super. And like I said, I believe Margot Robbie just embodies Harley Quinn. If we can get some people to write some good stuff and put the direction into it that it needs to be done, yeah, it would be great.
Well, there was a good movie in there. It just needed to be... There needed to be more laughs. There needed to be more craziness. Like, you were leaning into the crazy with all your trailers, your products, everything. Like, one of the cups you could buy at the movie theater has a big Harley Quinn, and she's staring up, and she sees all the characters from the movie with wings on, and just like it's showing the crazy side of it. This movie didn't really show too much crazy.
Didn't get that.
It really didn't. It just showed a heartbroken girl who was just dumped by her boyfriend, going out and trying to be her own woman. Like, that's pretty much the summary of the movie, and it just happened to have superhero stuff in it.
Yeah, basically it's that. I mean, yeah, there's some things that she does that are over the top. I mean, she blows up Ace Chemicals. That was a big...
That was cool.
Crazy thing to do. Yeah, that was really cool. But, I mean, you know, you have certain things in this movie that were completely glossed over. The connection between Montoya and her ex, the DA. Mm-hmm. If Harley hadn't have said a thing about it, you'd have had no idea about it.
No, never
no idea. And it was they tried to play on it with jokes, but it was like, okay, you didn't really foster it at all.
There was a good little subplot there too.
Yeah,
hinting at Renault's alcoholism and what happened, but nothing.
Right.
They were side characters to Harley. The whole movie was just Harley's vehicle, and the Birds of Prey were just tacked on for fun.
And I have to agree with you. The death of Black Mask, I mean, for future franchise use, I mean, to tie in with the Batman, to tie in with everybody else, Black Mask
could have been something great.
Well, in the comic book, he took over Gotham's crime syndicates. He is the crime lord of Gotham now.
There was a missed opportunity, and that was probably what pissed me off the most, is they killed him by blowing him up with a grenade. If you were going to kill him, you could have killed him by melting that goddamn mask to his face. Like it should have been. That, I could have understood. That would have been okay. And you know what? At the credits, you could have given me a little credit teaser saying his eyes opening with the mask melting his face. And be like, oh, that would have been cool. Yeah. That would have been really cool. The action in this movie was spotty as hell. Some of it was great. Mm-hmm. Some of it was And don't think we ever talked about this, but the reason some of it was great is because they hired Chad Stahelski, the guy that directed all 3 John Wicks, to come in and do some reshoots for the movie, and the reshoots he did were the action sequences of certain ones.
Right.
I even told you when I was watching the chase scene at the end where she was on her rollerblades and Huntress came out the motorcycle, that felt John Wickish. Like, way the camera moved, the way they were flowing, like, everything about that screamed John Wick to me. They should have just let him direct all the action sequences. Because the final fight in the carnival scene... Well, hell, what did you say about it? You were like...
Oh my God. It was so choppy. You could tell that the actors themselves were having a hard time choreographing their moves around the crap in the scene. Around the scenery. it was like, much. Okay, it was too much.
It was there for the sake of it being there. The fact that it was a fun house. They're like, oh, we can do some really cool stuff in here. You didn't. You really didn't do any cool stuff in there.
And here's the thing. The scenery itself, the outside of it, what was it called? I don't know, something dollhouse, I think, or something.
Yeah.
I forget. They made it look extremely fantastic. It was very comic book-esque. It was very, the scenery looked like it came out of a panel.
Yeah.
So they did a great job with that, but yet in the inside, they just, did some interesting stuff.
This movie, like I said, there was a good movie in here. Yeah. But I think you marketed it wrong. I think you focused it wrong. and I think you misplaced some of the characters. One of the bright spots, besides Roman Sionis and Ewan McGregor and Harley Quinn, was the Huntress. Yeah. Huntress was cool when she was on screen. She was the lady that played her, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, is a great actress.
She is very good.
So underutilized though. She had maybe 15 minutes of screen time when it was all said and done.
Yes.
And she was actually one of the tying forces behind the whole plot.
Yeah.
And she barely had anything to do with it until the end. And then you're like, okay, cool, she's here, but now what? And then it just kind of ends. And at the very end, you see how she's fronting the Birds of Prey team with her family fortune, and they're all in kind of comic accurate costumes a little bit, but it just felt so unnecessary and so unneeded. I'll tell you, it's not often I'm disappointed by a superhero movie like this, but damn if it didn't disappoint me. I was a little upset. Like, the last DCU movie to disappoint me this hard, well, there hasn't been one actually now I think about it. All of them have been good up to this point, even the ones that were critically panned. I enjoyed it. Batman v Superman. The theatrical cut of that bummed me out, but the director's cut was bomb.
I agree with that.
In this movie, even if there is a director's cut of this, I don't think it's going to salvage it. But I didn't kill Ewan McGregor, man. Even the fact, okay, you're trying to distance yourself from Jared Leto's Joker. This guy could have stepped in and replaced that.
Yes, he was a viable bad guy. A very viable villain.
Hell, they should have just recast the Joker as Ewan McGregor. Because he was pretty much the eccentric type that Joker goes for. He could have been a perfect Joker.
And he played that eccentric... I mean, his whole crazy was palpable.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like, hey, you know what? I'm really happy-go-lucky. I like this. But I'm going to go off at a moment's notice. Yeah. I'm crazy like this.
Well,
and I will make you do crazy stuff. Go ahead.
One of my favorite scenes with him in this, and you probably know where I'm going with this, is when he's... After they cut those families' faces, they left the one girl alive, and she was saying, thank you for letting me live, and she blows a snot bubble, and he goes, oh, that's disgusting. Oh, never mind, you can kill her. I was like, what the fuck? Alright, cool. Like, damn, dude.
That's the crazy. And that's the crazy...
killed, but whatever.
That's the kind of crazy I expected from Harley.
Yeah.
In this movie.
Yeah.
And we didn't get. I mean...
Well, that's the kind of crazy you should expect from the Joker.
Right.
But you didn't get in Suicide Squad. He was just a gangster. If anything, roles were reversed. Joker was more of a gangster, kind of like how Black Mask is in the comic books. While in the movies, Black Mask is the crazy that Joker should have been. Like, it's like kind of role reversal here. It's a little weird, but he did a good job with what he had. Like, his changes to his character, I was okay with because he sold it, he committed, and they gave him decent enough time. Still shouldn't have killed him, though.
No, hell no. Hell no. You have a movie coming up that could have used a myriad of bad guys in the future franchises and kept him alive. I mean, you splattered him into a million little pieces.
Yeah,
there's no
really
coming
a bitch
back from
too.
that.
Like when they saw that he had the grin, he's like, "Oh no!"
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh."
I mean, it was just like,
just kill me now.
Come on.
It was rough.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to his ending, perpetuating his character. You know, going into, you melt the mask on. The mask, like you said, was beautifully designed.
It was good.
Ewan McGregor, after he got the mask on,
he was cool.
He was so cool too. Yeah. You know,
he was even creepier.
Yeah,
he was creepy beforehand.
Yes, he was.
I mean, even when they were showing him around his house and he was showing his little tiki heads off, it was creepy. Like, he was crazy creepy.
Shrunken heads and masks and all that stuff. Like I said, the casting job was fantastic.
Yes.
The cast did good with what they had to work with.
The only problem I had was the girl that played Renee Montoya. She was a little bit old to be pulling off some of the moves. She was a little old to be pulling some of the moves she was pulling off.
I could say that. I mean, but it played into the fact of what they were trying to get her to do.
Dude, she's 55.
I know, but they were trying to get her to do the damn old cop, little blurbs from old cops. Quotes. Old cop quotes.
Oh, 80s movies. Quotes. That was funny. Yes. That was there were some funny moments in this movie. For the life of me, I can't remember some of them. The only ones I really remember were the ones with Black Mask. God, he was actually the highlight of this movie for me. He saved what was a hour. Was it 2 hours? 2 hour runtime?
Yeah.
He saved that 2 hour runtime for me. He was the only highlight for me. This is the first time in my life that I knew there was a post credit scene, and I told my wife there was. She goes, "Oh, you want to stay?" I'm like, "Nope, let's go. I'm done.
Don't need it.
I'm out." I knew what it was. I didn't even want to stay and watch it. Just didn't give a shit. I didn't care. I was done. I was ready to leave.
Another wasted thing we talked about today was the hyena.
Yeah, Bruce.
You had this hyena. You're going after these bad guys. You didn't bring him?
Well, she lost him.
Yeah.
I think he was just thrown in kind of like last minute CGI. When that would have been like I told you, it'd have been a really cool fight, like added fight scene in the Funhouse if Bruce came in and was added element, kind of like how the dogs were in John Wick 3.
Yes,
that would have been really cool to see. Is her hyena come out of nowhere and start defending her.
Mm-hmm.
But no, barely see Bruce. The only time you see him hurt anybody was after she got him from that pet dealer.
He ate his leg.
Now that was funny how you started seeing all those people come after her.
Yeah.
And it was going through all the reasons why these people was hating her. That was kind of funny.
Those were funny.
Those were funny scenes. But they just for being Harley Quinn, for being Joker sidekick and characters that are notoriously darkly funny, she was not that funny.
She wasn't darkly, and it wasn't darkly funny either.
No, it was, like I told you, I think it was R for the sake of being R.
Yeah.
Now it's only made $145 million at the box office against a budget of $82 to $100 million. I don't think it's gonna. I don't think.
No, it dropped. Went from like 33 million to 17.
Yeah, that's because Sonic came out, and I told my wife after watching this, I told her I still need to go see Sonic and Fantasy Island. I never thought I would see the day where I would go see a horror movie, a superhero movie, and a video game movie, and the video game movie being Sonic would be my favorite of the three.
Yeah.
Never thought I'd see the day.
Yeah, it's getting great
reviews. Where it's at. Yeah, and I can't wait to watch it. Yeah. But I feel I'm going to like it a whole lot more than I like this train wreck.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's mind-blowing that we didn't like it, and a lot of people really didn't like it, but it's doing good in the critic reception area. It's got a 79% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I have no idea why.
Oh, here you go. Ready for this? With a fresh perspective, some new friends, and loads of fast-paced action, Birds of Prey captures the colorfully anarchic spirit of Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. The fuck movie did you watch? I didn't get that. Did you get that?
I can't. No.
And I went in with an open mind. Like, you had already went and saw it, and you told me it's not good. I'm not going to like it. Even my dad told me wasn't going to like it. And then I was like, my dad never knows what I'm going to like. And then I watched it, I'm like, fuck, my dad was right. I hated this movie.
I went in hoping. I was like open-minded, hoping that this was going to be, exactly what we needed. The palate quencher from the not Birds of Prey, but what's the one with the
Gotham
Deadshot?
Oh, Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad. Kind of a palate quencher from that. Because, that was a choppy one. They borrowed so much from Suicide Squad, even the overlay of, you're doing a lot of the graphics on the screen.
Yeah.
A lot of the, overlay of the storytelling. I mean, yeah, her breaking the fourth wall, her doing, narrating was great and par for the course. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But man, oh man, give it a purpose.
Well, they even had one of the funnier scenes that kind of made me chuckle a little bit was when she was in the GCPD and she pointed at a winning poster saying, "Hey, I know that guy," and it was Captain Boomerang.
Yeah, that was like you said. There were moments it was really good. Oh, the fight scene when she had the bat. That was that was
the cocaine?
One of my favorite. Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
My favorite.
I feel like that was directed by Chad Stahelski. Yeah. I think he reshot that. Now the movie was directed by Kathy Yan, and you can forgive yourself if you don't know who that is, because I don't think anybody knows who that is. The only other movie she's done before this was a movie called Dead Pigs. This was her first real big movie, and she probably won't do another one after this.
Yeah,
because this was rough.
Tough.
It was, even though it's doing well critic wise, and it may make its money back in the box office. I don't think it'll make much more than it has because there's so much other good stuff coming out.
Correct.
I don't think she'll ever really get near anything again because this movie was just not that good. It was pretty boring. And if I ever see her name pop up in a movie again, I probably won't give it too much of a chance unless it just blows my socks off.
I mean, it's like you said, it was all over the place. It was just so choppy and so just, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. I mean, I understand in some ways you give her a chaotic process.
Yeah.
Harley Quinn a chaotic mindset, and your movie's going to be chaotic, but you have to tie it in and make sense of it, at some point in time, and not have it just be all over the place for the sake of being all over the place, so it just messes up the damn.
Let me clarify. The plot's easy to follow.
Yeah,
it's a very simple, straightforward plot. The movie is not hard to follow. What we mean by choppy is it just keeps jumping back and forth when it's unnecessary jumping back.
Exactly.
It's too much flashbacks that are unnecessary and uncalled for. You could have just said, "Hey, this is what this is going on." Cool. cool. Let's move on with life.
Right.
I get it.
Right.
Awesome. Not that difficult. But just some of it, I don't know. When it comes to recommending this movie, I suggest anybody that's a fan of Margot Robbie and Harley Quinn should watch this movie, but do not waste your time going to the theater to see it. There are other movies out in the theater that are much more worth watching than this one.
Yeah, you can put your money and time into something else.
Yeah, and when it comes out on Blu-ray DVD, by all means, watch it, enjoy it.
Rent it on a digital, whatever.
Redbox it.
Redbox it, something.
Yeah.
But, no.
I think this movie would have been better off in the hands of somebody like Chad Stahelski that knew what they were doing, especially when it comes to action movies. But then again, I don't want him to be taken away because I want John Wick 4 sooner than later.
Right, exactly.
And, Keanu Reeves is already busy making Matrix 4, so let's get chop.
Awesome.
You're a busy man, Keanu, and we love you for it, but keep it going. We want more. Mark, scale of 1 to 10?
Whew. I say a 5.2.
Yeah, I give it 5.6. I'm right there with you. It was just... It's not as bad as The Lonely Guy. And even though we make it sound rough, it is still a watchable movie. It is just boring. Like, it's dull. And there are some highlights to it. Highlight number 1 being Ewan McGregor as Roman Sionis. He was amazing.
I agree.
Huntress, Harley Quinn. But just the material they're given and the story you're watching just did not warrant this movie. No. It was a useless, unneeded movie when there could have been so much better. Yet again, Gotham Sirens would have been much better to watch.
Much better. Yeah. You could have introduced Poison Ivy, Catwoman.
And I hope Margot Robbie gets a chance to do another one of these, but not just with the Birds of Prey.
Right.
Do it with characters that are actually likable and relatable, and give those characters the time to shine. Do not just give them 15 minutes a piece of runtime and say, good luck.
A little crappy 15 minutes a piece. I mean, Montoya got a lot of screen time.
Yeah. But there wasn't much substance to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, Diana got a lot of screen time too, but she was more of a background character.
And you could relate to why she was, upset with Roman, and that she wanted to get back at him.
Yeah.
Her story was a little more fleshed out.
Yeah.
Than the others.
It was, like I said, it wasn't a horrible movie. It's just I don't recommend it going to see it in theaters. No. Even though I haven't seen Sonic yet, I recommend you go see Sonic. All right, well, this will be the end of this review. We don't got much else on this, Mark. You got any tidbits you want to share? I know you were biting at the bit to talk about this one for quite a few days.
Yeah, no, it's...
No? All right, well, we'll be back here in a couple days with... we're actually going to go back and watch Parasite. Yeah. And we're also going to talk about the Oscars at the same time, because we don't feel it's necessary to do a whole episode on just the Oscars and just Parasite, so we'll loop them together since Parasite did win. But we'll talk about that next time. All right, I've been Kendrick.
And I'm Mark.
And this has been Movies in Black and White. Thanks for listening.